Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. It's time to read some intense I don't work here stories, so let's get into our first story of the day by themarshmallowdiva, a thank you to the man who defended me at Walmart. I'll start up by explaining briefly that we've just moved to the area we're living in. I'm extremely new to the area and it makes me a little more nervous than normal. I am legally deaf. That doesn't mean I can't hear anything at all, but you definitely gotta speak slowly and very loud, especially with this pandemic and these masks. I can lip read really well, but with these masks, I'm at a loss unfortunately. I was wandering the local Walmart. I am dressed in a bright yellow shirt and a pair of yoga pants, and I'm wearing my DOT approved motorcycle helmet with the visor down instead of a mask. Masks are mandatory. But they never seem to mind letting me in as long as I keep my visor down while I shop. That makes me even more deaf than usual. My helmet is bright white, not hard to tell I don't work there. There is no mistaking that I don't work at Walmart. I have my hearing aids in, but they tend to have a wide V effect with the 3 separate mics, and I don't hear people behind me very well, if at all. It just mutes background noise, so I can focus on what's in front of me. Even with the hearing aids, I have serious difficulty hearing people with my helmet on. I clearly have a few items in my hands, sandwich meats and bread. I am following the arrows they put down, and I'm squatting down looking for a can of Campbell's mushroom soup. Suddenly, there is a very aggressive repeated smack against my shoulder. I actually screamed because I hadn't seen her come up behind me and was not expecting anyone in this pandemic to be close enough to actually touch me. She scared the absolute heck out of me. I twisted and landed hard on my butt, partially landing on and squishing my bread. I can suddenly see this woman and she is wearing her mask, gesturing wildly. I can hear the murmur of her voice, but with the visor down and my helmet on, I can't understand her properly. My hearing aids are pressed against the sides of the padding of my helmet and are moderately useless with the visor down. She doesn't react that I've fallen, just gestures wildly and her voice is rising. I finally make out what I think is, "Here is the mad fuel?" It's weird the way your brain fills in blanks when you can't hear someone or read their lips. I just shake my head. I say, "I don't know." I know my response is muffled by my helmet, but she keeps at it. While on my butt, I sign wildly, I don't know," all the while shrugging my shoulders and shaking my head hard. Unfortunately to her, maybe it looks like I'm saluting her, still on the ground. She says in an extremely loud voice, "If I can hear you and I'm wearing my helmet and with the visor down, you're speaking extremely loudly. Where is the cat food?" There is a man behind her wearing a mask who was socially distancing until she raised her voice. I see him approach quickly. He doesn't work there either, and I can hear him literally yell at her. Again, if I can hear you, you are loud. "Hey lady, don't touch her, what's wrong with you?" This attracts the attention of nearby people, and thankfully 2 people who actually work there. I see the blue shirts coming and I just skirt back from the lady as she turns away from me and starts bickering with the man. I can't hear most of it, but I can definitely see it escalating. I stand up, step back further, and brush myself off. I pick up my sandwich meats, but the bread is a lost cause. One employee clearly tries to de-escalate the situation, and she is just shrill and gesturing madly. I can no longer hear the man, he's not raising his voice anymore. One of the staff, standing beside me now, I turn my face to her and I think she's asking me if I'm okay. I shrug and throw off a few signs. I'm deaf, sorry, don't know her. And I point aggressively at the lady who scared me. The man is explaining everything that happened to the other staff member. The second employee seems to understand that I'm deaf and just nods. She motions for me to step back further from the argument, and I do, and she puts herself between myself and the small knot of people. There's a brief heated discussion, the employee shaking his head, some of which I can hear and some of which I can't, as the man speaks to the other staff. I can hear her briefly again, something about "ever again." The lady is then actually escorted from the store, her card left behind by one staff member. I was super surprised by that. When all is said and done, it seems he saw the whole thing. Things quiet down quickly, the customer who intervened points at me and flashes the OK symbol, Most people know, pointer finger to thumb, 3 fingers out. I smiled and nodded. I signed and loudly said, "Thank you," before the Walmart employee led me back to the area to get new bread. I flashed the man the peace sign before I left and signed "thank you" again before being led away. It's really astounding. I know this is a Karen and these stories pop up all the time, but how can you see somebody in a motorcycle helmet and think they work at Walmart? The outfit doesn't match up, the helmet doesn't match up. Did they think the motorcycle helmet was a new mandated safe mask for Walmart employees? Like an all-encompassing face shield or something? Do you think this Karen thought it was a face mask or something by an employee? Or do you think Karen was misled by something else? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Our next story is written by Lunar Wolf Studios. Karen wants me fired from a GameStop and a free Switch. Mine. So, to survive this whole lockdown, I've been enjoying My Hero 1's Justice 2 and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee on my Switch. However, I wanted to see if I could find something else to play a few days after everything started opening up again. I got my boyfriend Jason to drive me to GameStop. For context, we are both underage and only he has his license. Once inside, I started looking at all the Switch games. I also had a question about Pokemon Shield I knew a friend who works at GameStop could help me with, so I brought my Switch with me, asked her about it and handed her my Switch, then went back to looking. Karen storms in not a minute later. "Excuse me." I didn't pay attention to her, not expecting her to be talking to me since I obviously was browsing, right? Wrong. "Excuse me." "Oh, hi, am I in your way?" "Yes, you are. Why are you just standing there instead of working?" "I don't know what— Are you going to move or not?" I just shrink a bit and back away. Now, even though I am taller than most people, somewhere between 5'9" and 6'1", I am a twig. I have no muscles and you can see my ribcage if I take my shirt off. Before someone says something because this has happened in posts on other sites, no, I don't have an eating disorder, just a very, very high metabolism. Friend told me she got the problem I needed help with done and handed me my Switch. I smile and thank her before moving back to the games. "Go do your job and ring this up for me." Thrusting Breath of the Wild into my hands. "Ma'am, as I've tried telling you already, I don't want any excuses, young man." I just sigh and walk to the counter, handing my friend the game and explain to her what happened quietly when this lady comes around the corner. "Ugh, did I not tell you to ring that up? Do your darn job." Friend says he doesn't work here. Jason has come in by that point and hugs me from behind as I'm shaking a bit from how much this lady has yelled at me. I can't handle people yelling. Part of my past and a part of the reason why I shrank away from her earlier. Now, all he cared about was while looking through the window of the store, he saw my anxiety go up and needed to comfort me so he didn't think to put a mask on first. Important detail for later. Jason says, "Babe, it's okay, I'm right here, I got you." He kissed my cheek softly, and that's when I think 3 things registered in Karen's head. 1, I don't actually work there. 2, I'm gay. 3, someone was kissed, possibly just spreading the virus. Manager had finally come out, seeing as Karen was yelling loud enough for Mexico to hear. I'm in Ohio. For anyone that reads this in another country, that's one of the states in the top row in the US. Manager says, "What's going on here?" "This man was rude to me and is intentionally spreading the virus around me to get me sick." Excuse me, what? After some more shouting, she demands a free Switch as compensation, and guess what? Even though she now knows I don't work there, she asks for mine. I say no quietly and Karen reaches for it. Jason pulls me out of there and buys me ice cream to calm me down before we go to a different GameStop to eventually buy Animal Crossing. I've only really got about 3 things to say about this story. The first is that I'm glad to hear OP has such a caring boyfriend. 2, that I hope they really enjoy their Animal Crossing game. I surely hope that Karen got kicked the heck out of there. The next story is written by McDuchess. I don't live here, sir. My daughter has lived in Italy for most of the past 18 years. 15 years ago, I went by myself to visit her, leaving husband and son number 2 home alone for 2 weeks. We'd had a lot of fun. Pompeii, touring ancient places in Puglia, where she lived at the time, helping a group of French tourists looking for the cathedral in daughter city with my rusty high school and college French. But the best was to come. The day before I flew home, I took the early commuter train to Rome. When I got to Roma Centrale, I stowed my luggage at a secured spot and went to explore. After wandering the city and watching the crowds at Piazza del Popolo, the People's Plaza, I wandered in the general direction of Trevi Fountain. After picking up a soda and a slice of pizza at a place on an alley, I walked to Trevi Fountain. It's pretty much always crowded, but I found a spot to sit, eat lunch, and read a book, surrounded by people jostling for the best place for their photos. Now, I'm not a too imposing looking American woman. At the time, I was blonde. I have blue eyes and a very pale complexion. In other words, I look not at all Italian. Nevertheless, a very Italian-looking man, about my age, walks up to me and in Italian asks for directions. To where? No clue. So I smile at him and shrug my shoulders in what I hope is an imitation of a local and tell him I'm sorry in Italian. Poorly accented? Definitely. For the rest of the afternoon, I was on a cloud of happiness. I'd been mistaken not only for an Italian, but for a Roman. That incident still brings a smile, especially as I'm struggling to understand daughter and son-in-law's rapid-fire discussions. At one time, some deluded fool thought I was a local. It's kind of funny to hear about this almost downplayed story of, I finally found out that I fit in. You're all the way in a foreign country, you're in Rome just sitting around and you realize, I actually somehow fit in here. I don't look like a loud, noisy American somehow. And our final story of the day is by Miss Andromeda 19. How much for this? This happened way back in 2014. I was 16 at the time when this happened. I live near a tourist destination. Many foreign nationals visit our place. My mother told me to pay the electric and water bills that day. She gave me the money and also asked me to buy some vegetables on the way home. It wasn't far away, about 15 minutes of walking. I finished paying the bills and was going to the market to buy some veggies. Then suddenly it rained. I took shelter at a nearby souvenir shop. I was minding my own business when two middle-aged Western couple with an infant came in. They also took shelter. The guy, let's call him Joe, we call him Joe here, is fiddling with the souvenirs and other trinkets while Karen is carrying the baby. Then Joe said, "How much for this?" pointing at a painted carved shell while looking at me. I gestured to myself saying, "Me?" Then I said, No, I'm not the shopkeeper," while waving my hands. Then Joe loudly says, "How much for this?" emphasizing every word loudly as if a non-English speaker such as myself would magically understand what he's saying in an instant. I just ignored him and kept on praying the rain would stop so I don't have to deal with them. Normally we, the locals, help foreigners with directions and other stuff and interact with them, but this couple is an exception. I could actually feel the rudeness in his veins circulating. Then he goes on by saying, "I feel sorry for the third world country. They have people and children that are illiterate, can't even understand simple English." And Karen goes on blaming the system, blah blah blah. The rain stops and they're still talking about craps and stuff about how they pity the people here. I faced them and said, "In the future, if you ever visit another country, please leave your disgusting attitude in your homeland. Also, I can perfectly understand English." I ran and never looked back. So you go to a different country that I assume does not speak English and complain when people, surprise, don't speak English very well there, let alone the fact that OP did speak English and just misunderstood them. It's definitely people like this that give American tourists a pretty bad rap. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today, so if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which one and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe if you haven't. And make sure to click the bell to turn notifications on too so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you did, whether it was liking, commenting, subscribing, thank you for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. It all helps the channel grow immensely, so thank you so very much for supporting me. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and until next time, I'll be reading even more stories to share with you guys right here on the Storytime channel.